go ahead and get started, everybody. At the request of the presenter, come scoot closer. This isn't church. You can scoot closer. A little closer. Well, thank you all for coming. Some of you were there last night, so thank you for coming 2 nights in a row. Tonight we have Dr. Fendt presenting, and we're doing a poetry reading from his newly published book. And then just to keep your eye out, our next event will be March 13th, Thursday, in this room. Dr. Rosanna will be presenting that evening. So, without further ado, Dr. Fendt.
All right. Is this okay? Okay. So this is my first book of poetry. It's published by the same people who did the Job book, which some of you heard parts of before. The cover is 1/2 of a diptych. One of my favorite paintings in the Met in New York. It's St. Michael and St. Francis, and this is the St. Michael half of it. I've used this figure describing it in my medieval classes. St. Michael here has his eyes closed and doesn't miss the dragon. St. Francis next door, his robe is the same color as the dragon, and he's like this, smiling with his eyes open, and he has the stigmata, which are the same color as the dragon's mouth, where he's bleeding from. And I take it that that's a picture of the way eternal life enters into the life that we have. So the angel has its eyes closed because it doesn't depend on senses and time to understand what's going on. Francis has his eyes open because that's the only way he knows what's going on, and he's smiling at the suffering, which if you look at the painting, I think, the painter is trying to get you to see that the suffering is caused by the eternal entering into that part of us that's the dragon. And so the movement of the book, I'm hoping, is something like that movement. It's broken into 3 sections. The first section is called Catechism for Our Time. So I'll read that poem first. Some of you, probably only a few of you, might remember where this comes from. Catechism for Our Time. Who made you? Desire made me. Why did desire make you? To know its power, to serve it and never be satisfied. Whence comes this God? He is ancient of days. His worship first rose in the land of want. What is the kingdom of desire? Time and all of space. Where is its capital? In each heart. Who is its king? No one. Is this kingdom rich or poor? It is very rich, having one product that it has an infinite supply. What product has it? Despair. How is despair produced? It is eternal, the only begotten of desire itself. Whatever desire imports, despair is exported. Whatever desire exports, this it imports. Is this economy universal? It holds only within the kingdom and in each capital. Does desire have a temple? Many in each capital. So an infinite and ever-growing number. What are the names of God? They are uncountable and various, but his people are all one. What is the name of his people? Each one is called Narcissus. In what does worship consist? To drown oneself and not to die. What does God promise? Never to answer. As most of you know, I was a lots of these poems are inspired by different philosophers that I had to read, or sometimes when I was getting ready for class and I abandoned class to work out something. So this is a poem based on an idea from John Rawls' Theory of Justice, which was a very famous book when I was in graduate school. In the Theory of Justice, John Rawls proposes that in order to produce an equitable social contract, you should imagine all members of the society behind a veil of ignorance, where they have no knowledge of themselves or their socioeconomic position in whatever society is agreed to from within this original position. So, this poem is called The Original Position. Under the condition that you know nothing at all, under the condition that you are allowed only 5 kinds of question and that generally only one will be answered with any plausibility or degree of accuracy in any specific instance. Under the condition that your mother and father shoot craps over your as yet unformed face, with no stricture on their talent, capacity for raising a catfish, or patience with croup. Under the condition that no one knows who you are. Into a world with uncountably more churches than ever it had active gods, and more modes of suffering than those purposed by the most exquisitely appointed of dungeons. A world where every system of order is enforced by crucifixion, and the end of each road is death. To what system of taxation would you like to consent? And when will you begin paying? This poem has 2 parts. So I'll just go like that when I get to the second part. It's a true story mostly. The lyric frame of sorrow. I like your apple pie, he said, embracing her from behind, but I really love your buns. He leaned into her, his hands impossibly under her apron, blouse, and bra as she leaned out to place the pie up on the cooling rack beyond the child's sudden hands. One of us is going to get burned, she said, wishing the signs of his affection would avail themselves of times less inopportune, if not precisely dangerous. We're out of milk, she said, blue veins warming in his hands. Take Tommy, I'll get the table set. And then, he murmured in her ear, one hand trailing down her stomach, we'll eat. She turned and pecked his lip. October, and the trees in their celebratory fall chasuble the hills in martyr red and gold, bereave the sunset of her glory for a day, orange the moon, and set the river's curves aflame, for nothing turns the planets from their courses. The sun declines from Libra to the Scorpion. The car, returning, rounds the downhill curve to find the tank truck stalled. Standing on the brake, he pulls his son's head to his lap, turns right hard, goes under. The car is open like a can of Spam. A neighbor runs to the road. A glittering angel lies in the lap of the headless man. A bruise above one eye, no further harm. No further harm. Some of you had to read Kant recently. One part of the first part of the critique of judgment is the analytic of the sublime. And Kant explains there that the experience of the sublime is something human beings can have because they have a moral principle within themselves. And the experience of the sublime arises when your imagination is totally overcome by something, which can happen in 2 ways. One is the mathematical sublime, where your imagination just can't get a hold of the whole of a thing. And Kant's example is the starry heavens, which just keep going. You can't unify it. And the other is the dynamical sublime, which is the power of nature, which can totally crush us. And both of these imaginations, or both of these things that we can experience, can arouse in us the moral feeling that we're superior to all of that in nature. Of course, for the dynamical sublime, he puts in a little caveat, provided we're in a safe space. So a hurricane would be sublime only if you're watching from the television set, perhaps, or a tornado is not sublime if you're watching from the bathroom of your mobile home. It's just terrifying. Okay, so analytic of the sublime. Provided we are in a safe place, we should like to see ourselves strapped to the bed of nails and walked on by the elephant. Provided there is an exit, we wonder what it is like to sit in the plane that is falling, or be trapped in the burning towers as they collapse. If we knew the tank would come to a stop, we too would stand there, free in our white shirt before it. Given the end of the world, let us watch in the theater of the gods, grasping the ticket we don't believe in. For the next one, I'd like to not give you a footnote, but there's a couple of poems that have been going through my mind for 50 years or so. One of them for 50 years or so. I first read it when I was your age, back in a previous millennium. And it's by Hawkins. The Windover, to Christ our Lord. Oh, I have to explain one thing about this. One of the problems with writing in a living language is words change their meanings, and so they have different echoes from one millennium to another, one decade to another. There's a word in here that has the same thing has probably been done to it for you as I found has been done to Wordsworth's word at the end of one of his poems. So really an important word. One of his poems ends with the word gay, which of course is totally destroyed these days because it doesn't mean anything like what you're thinking. And it didn't even have an echo of that in Wordsworth's day. So the word in here is minion, which in English Hawkins' day meant the favorite of a king or prince. And after that, it sort of developed a more meretricious sort of favorite of a king or prince. Well, never mind, I won't explain what meretrix is in Latin. And of course now minion is some like purple gumdrop with a single eye or something like that. I haven't seen the movie, so I may be describing the wrong creature, but it doesn't mean either of the last two things. The Windover. I caught this morning's minion. Kingdom of a daylight's Dauphin, dappled dawn-drawn falcon in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the reins of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, then off, forth on a swing that a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend. The hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. The achieve of, the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valor and act, oh, air, pride, plume, here buckle. And the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, oh my chevalier. No wonder of it. Sheer plod makes plow down Cillian shine, and blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, gall themselves and gash gold vermilion. That's one kind of hawk. Here's another one. Somewhere years from now, I hope I'm saying this to my sons, why the hawk hit the trap, I couldn't guess. In the face of it, it was pointless. But it had hit the trigger dead center with both feet. For a moment, lifting that fatal weight before the blind torque of the trap had sprung. After that, its wings had clawed at the sand for hours. Its cries had gradually sunk back into its throat, although its beak, thrust defiantly at the stream, held on to an animal yellow. Then it had pulled everything in. For a moment, the hawk, and only the hawk's turn, in that blind and beautiful light, trying to hold on, as the trap held on to what it was. So, like I said, for 50 years the one poem, and for about 35 the other one. And I just have them flying through every once in a while. Body and soul. The old truck, like a fat man in a squeaky couch, dips deep in the slow road's ruts. High in the blue, the hawk. Now if you see that figure, you know that I mistitled the poem. It shouldn't be body and soul. The first part should be the soul as it is, and the second part, high in the blue, the hawk, the soul as it wants to be, and was made to be. Okay, the second part of the book is called How It Is. Elegy for my father. Nothing we do is like this. Death makes all an echo. No voice remains original, no act one's own. Thank God. Dying lets fall the good, the bad. But only one has form, can hang for any time upon a tree, or band a finger, or bring the human animal into grammar, into answer out of mule and oozing pleasure. So he did, and ceased himself, diffused into effect, became a ghost. The day before he died, the late sun turned the bird bath to a shallow bowl of molten copper. Burning as it was, a robin came to it, dipped, and drank in iridescence, then froze, bronzed by thirst and capillary action of its spindly legs. It held. One other came. It drank, then both were gone. The deep green chain of peonies held the shining bowl like a pendant from which, somehow, the living jewel had fallen. God precedes the world, announcing nothing's annihilation, leaving behind the bane of beings, remaining himself in all of it and beyond. But we are not like this. We do not make the day, only shape the fruit of it, or polish the skin. This is, next poem is Requiem for the Man, the poem the book is dedicated to. Requiem for Don Welch. The voice is no longer a voice. Man, no longer a man. Before sounding, the voice could not be measured, and now it can no longer be measured. The dust of his voice has been weighed, sifted and weighed, and placed on our lap. A plain box, 60 years of knowledge and love, 8 pounds of ash. His voice seemed sometimes to measure itself through silence. The next word comes when it will. The world turns. We measure. Still, the white space of silence. Spring. The river braiding itself around its sandbars, falling slowly from the high desert to lace its meanders into green. The sky full of wings, ancient and new. Which of these cranes, mating for life, might have their syrinx song modulate to our human voice, praising sandbar and river and the braid of love under the descant of cranes? From which of these welcomes should a poem be born? Remind me, as these ashes float and settle, in what symbols all bliss is born. This is the title poem for this section, How It Is. Before the beginning was the now, and beginning began because of now, and from now, and in now. And there was no before now, and after it is only time, and after time, there will be only now. Then every private sunlit now, and every separate fog-shrouded April now, and every mutual, oh my love, now, will be folded into that eternal now, and be at once and always now. And though in time there is no time for now, and though all time folds out the now, divides and subdivides and shatters now, hangs up, drags out, puts off the now, all time still depends on now, and can suddenly, at any moment, break wide open into now. This next poem is the first poem that I got published in a serious journal. I was taking a course in German poetry, and the teacher thought Goethe was just the greatest poet in the world. And I had read Goethe's Faust after I'd read Marlowe's. And I thought, you know, Goethe is just, he doesn't have a lot of backbone. Marlowe knows. So I wasn't too impressed with his remark about Goethe. And he said, what makes him great is he could be anything. He could be an old woman, he could be a child, he could be. And I'd studied poetry as an undergraduate, and I'd read Keats, and so I knew, well, look, that's just negative capability. And if you can't do that, you can't be a poet at all. If you can't abandon yourself and be someone else or something else and let it speak through you, what do you think you're doing? So I was thinking of, you know, different things to write that, just because I was mad, I have to practice this now. Anyway, so this is the poem. I don't know, I'm sure I wasn't mad when I wrote the poem, but I remember these events being connected. It was the same semester I was stuck in this German poetry class. Visitation. Mary, I dreamed of you last night, or someone who spoke of you, full of grace. And when you called from the road, the child came alive in my womb. And Mary, you know, this fig tree hasn't flowered in over 20 years. But today, I woke from my dream and it was covered with blossoms. They have quivered all morning with bees who cannot resist their sweetness. The courtyard is full of the smell of creation, Mary. My long unsuckled breasts hold milk. And before these blossoms fall, my nipples will be as figs in the mouth of my child. I have waited for this so long that I had forgotten that I wanted it to happen. And now it has. And my husband is dumb with disbelief. And I have more words than 2 tongues can utter. Mary, what great thing is happening? So we had the great, Tom and Dave and I, the great pleasure of working for a long time with Don Welsh. And he and I wrote a couple of poems together and would sometimes challenge each other with little bits of poetry. So I'm pretty sure this poem that he wrote was the inspiration for the next poem I'm going to read, mine. This is called A Round of All Hosanna. King, right side to Graham, the shot on the wave, I Seaford, the cutter blocked, the ball wanging iron, smacking the glass and kicking back, a reunion with a mythic hoop, which loops it in a slow religious cycle where time swarms, where on every mouth there is the great long O of the jump circle, the cheerleaders like the ball, French kissed, flipped up and out and back and in. The floor itself like Eden's light, more precious than communion wine or saints' bones in suspended time. The fight song in a carrion flight, our sweat like heathers close and tight, the key to a town on Friday night. Oh yeah. The longest jump shot ever. From out of bounds, behind the line of history, before beginnings, without walls or floor or overarching rafters, bleachers, box seats, SRO, filled to the cheering ceiling, God launched his Hail Mary, holy unbelievable shot. Lights lit. The black line dropped behind it, boards ran out, rafters sprang to roof them, and all the audience stood on the sphere among spheres, the living ball among the incandescent bulbs, to watch the ball in its high arc curve round the edge of darkness, hang as they hung, curve in its descent, nothing but air, and backlit black space, and then, so suddenly, the orange rim, the black line, and nothing but net, curling on the back-spun globe where all were cheering. Todd likes this one, so I knew I had to read it. Once again, the inspiration is of a book. In one of the semesters I was here, I was doing a seminar on Augustine, and we were reading The City of God. And there is this line from Book 13 of The City of God. The body, better than it was here in its best estate of health. Unlike the, oh, I'm sorry, I need to explain a word here that you probably don't know. Cicatrice. It's a scar. Okay, so, hockey in the City of God. Oh, I should say this too. I grew up in Wisconsin, and we would skate in the wild. So there was a river that ran through town. We put our shoes up under the bridge and we'd skate out of town. And some days the ice was really good, especially if you got there before the snow and the snowmobilers. And sometimes it wasn't because of the snow or the snowmobilers or both. Right? And sometimes we'd skate on lakes or ponds, or so. Skating in the wild was something I grew up with. All right, now I think I can start. Hockey in the city of God. The body better than it was here in its best estate of health. Unlike the lake and river now, where crack, stick, snow patch, tread melt, trip and slow the skate blade, will you watch the cicatrice on the dustless mirror heal itself behind you? Ice gleam as if untouched, but for the wind which swept it clean of snow, banking the river that perfect day you found it once, a glorious Thanksgiving on the bend just out of town? Or rather, will nature be itself renewed, to friction give its scar? The body, its best estate of health surpassed, from which not its power, but all need is taken, balanced, singing on the blades, and action. You wheel, slinging the puck off the stick's curved face, willing time true, and each his own perfection. There's a couple of poems in here that are written about or by, I shouldn't say that, saints. And there's some other scenes from the New Testament in here. This is a poem, Agatha to Quintian, consul to Decius Trajanus, emperor, from prison, February Anno Domini 251. Agatha was a Christian martyr from the middle of the 3rd century. She was a very beautiful girl, apparently, and Quintian, this Roman hierarch, fell in love with her, wanted to marry her. She said no. She was married to Christ, and so to help convince her, he put her in prison for a while. And there were some interactions between them while she was in prison. So, Agatha to Quintian, consul to Decius Trajanus, February 251. There is, my love, no garden save our God. Why then do you complain the world does not content you? Or think to take your pleasure and your ease upon my breasts? It is not love if I should let you rest there, or pillow where my stomach rises from the cleft where you have lost yourself, or wish to. Our God does not allow it. Imperial marriage makes me part of all your wealth, though lady of it. To your joy I shall refuse it. No sacrament of love attempts such transubstantiations. Your hands must offer otherwise, else to you these breasts are prisons, deaths, contempts. Seek not the plausible unions of your mortal will, but love impossibly, or kill. So he did, after cutting off her breasts. For all you medieval scholars, Cornelius. This is a line or two from Boethius' Consolation of Philosophy. It's called Eternal Life, and I think this is the last one I had planned. Eternal life. Eternity is the complete, simultaneous, and perfect possession of everlasting life. This will be clear from a comparison with creatures that exist in time. Boethius, Consolation of Philosophy. In a way of living which leaves no room for time, the seed, the bud, the flower are all one present. It is too much life for this poor rose, which needs it parceled out in petal moments, glorying in each its own slow climb, in sun, in moon calm rain, all earth's elements driving through its thorn as blood goes round the body, carrying the blush of love sometime, of fever, of delight. As a child on a slide in one great flow swoops down, shrieks, runs back to climb, all at once is life. There is no rush. Can all this alive as one day's raiment be born forever up in one man's bones? I could read some more Welch. Any comments, questions?
Which one is your favorite?
I love all my children. Derek?
The one that you've been ruminating on for 50 years, the trap with the hawk.
No, that's Don's.
Oh,
That
that's
was only
Don's.
35 years. The first one was 50 years, that's,
The third, okay, the
that
35
one was Hawk.
Okay. What have you consistently or most frequently seen as the lure and the trap?
Oh, in Don's poem? I think the lure is something shiny. Maybe there was a piece of meat on it. But the line in that poem that I think is just fabulous, and where the thing turns, if I can find the poem again, is do you know offhand what page it's on?
I don't. I should.
27. This is where the poem, it's got 4 stanzas, and the poem turns around these lines. Well, I have to read the whole stanza. But it had hit the trigger dead center with both feet, for a moment lifting at fatal weight, before the blind torque of the trap had sprung. The blind torque of the trap is where the poem turns, and that's reality grabbing us, and it's blind, and it's got you. But you still have to hold on to what you are. The hawk did. Would you like just one more for an encore?
Yes.
How about this one? Annunciation. You've all seen probably Old Masters pictures of the Annunciation. I remember looking at one, probably in the Met. There's a ribbon coming out of the angel, and it says Ave Gratia Plena, but it's starts at the other end of the ribbon. So I'm reading it goes Eva something. So I'm trying to put the Latin together, and of course, only the first word makes sense, Eva, because Mary's the second Eve. And so and then I realized, okay, that's the first word that goes into her ear, so that's why that's on that. And so you're reading it this way instead of that way. Anyway, in this picture, she doesn't look at the angel. The angel is behind her, shooting out this ribbon of speech. Anyway, Annunciation. Without turning, she knew the voice, which, kneeling, asked if she would condescend to let the world turn its wobble axis to grief through her unentered womb. Allow the tears of children and of Eve to gather in one place, dry land appear, word grow to globe, named things, that smash-skulled Abel open his flowering brain pan to the murderous brother, knowing all, allowing all, that forgiveness make its round of all. From the God-draped temple of her flesh to the last star, speeding in its red shift from heaven's center. All of which, including this visitation, would be only if she already had said yes. And God grew humble at her affirmation. Obediently, he childed himself to her obedience, and love became human, and dwelt among us. That's a good place to end. Thanks for coming. I have managed to get the publisher to send me some of these. If you'd like to buy one, they're $15. Oh, and I have another poem that Welch and I and another guy wrote. Maybe I should read this one. I found these cleaning out my office today. This is the poem no one has written. Or maybe I should say the poem no one has written, because it was written by Don H.L. Hicks, a friend of mine that I went to graduate school with, teaches in Wyoming, and me. And the cover is by Art Pierce. The poem no one has written. Oh, that's another one. So some of you have seen or heard us read the Book of Hours, which was another back and forth. I couldn't tell you on this one who wrote anything either. I'm certain that what we didn't do, it's in 3 parts, I'm certain that what we didn't do was each person write a part. So somebody wrote a couple of stanzas and then gave it to somebody else. And then, anyway, but I couldn't say who's who and what's what. The poem no one has written. In the poem no one has written, vowels roll around in your mouth like smooth stones on a hot summer day. Consonants carve their initials on air, a cadence in the cursive of bees flitting from flower to flower. And silence is the most perfect of all epitomes, the breath of the rose, mauve's possibilities. In the poem no one has heard, grammar's bones become birds' wings, lift, loft, coast, curl in der Luft. The first capital, bearing the roof, is transmuting to marble and adamant, the fulcrum of the pivoting sky. Its unspoken syllables echo in the sunlit portico, resound in harmony with the unseen stars. On the stairs, those subdivisions of absence, ghosts loom in the air at the end of the garden. Syntax like lattice work hunches in rungs. In the poem, no one has heard, one nerve sips at a bloom, the sentient straw of a hummingbird's tongue, while the poem in the blood circulates like water through the three-tiered fountain, like water transpiring through a rose, like water transpiring through a rose leaf, resolving into dew. Under the gnarling root cap, the living plerome sends down its steel. Root hairs feather on bedrock. The poem that crosses the sky sings to the earth. The undersides of its hosted wings glint silver, like wings of nighthawks circling a lit steeple. Its harmony is the concord of 1,000 starlings whirling from phone line to wheat field. It enters the mind like motion, as a remembrance of rhythm. The poem no one has written is the ghost of a ghost, the other of genitives, the ever of everything else, the longing of every petal or leaf that ever tried to be snow. Now I'm really done. And it must be time. It's not bad.